Hey, everybody. So happy to be here. Emily Phillips and Rebecca Stone with Step to Stories, episode number 26. And today we have the beautiful Rebecca, who, by the way, is one of our head coaches at Just Lean In. And Just Lean In is a weight loss company, and we do not believe in counting calories. We believe in eating to satiety, and we have a very innovative plan that we've put together. And she could be one of your coaches if you're interested in that. But right now, our most important focus is to get you moving and stepping. And what we want to do is tell you a story to get you engrossed. And by the end of the story, we hope that you'll get between 4,000 and 6,000 steps. How's that sound, Rebecca?
It sounds like a great idea.
It sounds like a great idea. So right now, we're going to get started. And Rebecca, by the way, you're going to love her voice. She's the voice that everybody loves to listen to. Where are you originally from, Rebecca?
I'm from West Yorkshire, Northern England.
Yorkshire.
A tiny mining town called Castleford. And great place to grow up, great people, honest people, straight talkers, straight shooters. That's where I get my no-nonsense attitude from.
That is awesome. And, because accents are different all in the U.S., just like they're different out there. So you get different British accents, and everybody particularly likes yours. So.
Oh, well, that's sweet. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that. I'll try and do my best for you all.
Yep. So today we're going to be diving into a story that Rebecca got fascinated with. Cindy James, is that her name?
Yeah. So this story is, I usually don't like unsolved mysteries. I'm a scientist. I like an answer. I like things to be. And the funny thing is, I asked my team at work. I work in a team of 8 people, 8 girls, 8 women. And we all agreed the other day, we hate unsolved mysteries. We don't like unsolved crimes, all of those podcasts like that. And so I think it's kind of unusual that I picked this one today because it was on unsolved mysteries and there isn't a definitive answer. But there's just such a glaring injustice to me for this poor lady that I think let's just tell the story and see what everyone makes of it. Because
do you think it's because we don't get the satisfaction at the end of who did it?
Exactly. It's like, imagine if you watched a movie and then they just stopped the movie before they wrapped it up. There are movies like that. I hate those movies. And I have to Google those movies and say, what did the ending mean,
I know.
And so I do like a nice little bow on everything at the end of it all. So today this is gonna keep us guessing today. So Cynthia James, she seems like a pretty normal person. There's nothing very outrageously, interesting that happens in her life up until all of these strange happenings start to take place. She's Canadian. She was born in British Columbia. She was born to a mom who was a homemaker and a dad who was an English teacher. And he was also in the Air Force. And she was one of 6 kids. So quite a big family. And they moved around a little bit, and with her dad being in the military. But like I said, nothing that distinguishing about her childhood. One thing that was said about her family was that her dad was quite strict, and it did include corporal punishment. So I don't know if that has any bearing on this story. She enrolled in nursing school and traveled around. Her family was still traveling a little bit, and so she'd go sometimes overseas to visit her family. I would say nothing, she's at nursing school, her family, she's got this big family, they've moved around a bit, quite a strict father, nothing remarkable. The next big thing that happened in the summer of 1965, Cindy met her future husband, a South African psychiatrist, which is kind of interesting that he was a psychiatrist given this story, 18 years her senior. And so make of that what you want. A woman who marries someone kind of the next generation older, whatever that means. Maybe she just thought he was the most fabulous person she ever met. So they did get married and she graduated from nursing school. Okay. And so there was a little bit of reporting that it was a troubled marriage, and there was some talk of emotional distance and some accusations of abuse, a little bit of maybe neglect in there. And her husband asserted, it says here in my information, that he only slapped her twice. So,
I always say one time, you're out.
Right. Exactly. You never get a second chance with those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And And so he could not practice psychiatry in the US. So he became a professor at the Faculty of Medicine in British Columbia.
He couldn't practice, because he didn't have his license.
Yeah, it's hard to get licensed overseas. And so Cindy worked as a pediatric nurse, and that's it. Like, really, that's it. And was having a nice career, everything seemed fine, apart from the slaps, of course. And so the incidents that kind of distinguish this period of harassment or stalking, whatever we're going to call it, because this is kind of the crux of the story. For poor old Cindy, there was a lot of reported abuse by an unknown assailant. Okay. And so the incidents began in 1982. So let's remember that she got married in 1966. So she's been married quite a long time. Oh, actually, she got separated from her husband. The incidents began in 1982, 4 months after she separated from her husband. Okay. So that's a clue. If we were detectives right now, Emily, that would be a clue. Okay. So around that time, she told friends and family she suspected a prowler was lurking around her home.
Wait, how long was she separated?
Only 4 months separated.
After she got married?
Oh, no. They were married a long time. They were actually married in 1966.
Oh.
And so they were married a long time.
Oh, so they were separated when she went missing.
Yeah. Well, no, she didn't go missing. This is when so they'd been separated when she started to report that she was having some weird things happening.
Got it.
And so some weird phone calls, some lurking around. She said that people were calling up and speaking in different voices, and sexual and violent calls, like people were just saying weird things, breathing noises, all kinds of things. And so
breathing noises, like on the phone,
like heavy breathing, right? And then saying things like, you think the police will keep you safe, you wait, I've got my zipper open. And things like that, weird things. So we don't need to make anyone blush.
On the phone? On the phone?
On the phone, yeah. And she didn't recognize the voice. And so she reports these things to the police. She said she heard someone looking outside her home. She was awoken in the morning, her porch lights were smashed. Someone had thrown a rock through her windows and entered her home. Just kind of like all these. She said someone slashed her pillow on her bed. Like, imagine that if you came home and your pillow was slashed. I'd probably move back to England.
Okay,
actually.
No.
Yeah.
Her pillow was slashed.
Yeah, exactly. And so all of these things, lots of strange things. And so the police suspected the culprit was her estranged husband, as you would probably suspect, and he denied involvement. And so Cindy made conflicting statements saying that she didn't think he was capable of doing that, but also did assert that he was violent during their marriage. And so it seemed like he was a little bit. I think that's often the case with abusers as well. You know, there's two sides to them. Obviously, there was something about him that made her stay in the marriage for so long. Someone did see a man standing near the house and said that he did not resemble the husband. And so, okay. And so...
How old was Cindy?
How old?
Was she like in her 30s or 40s?
At this time. Well, when she died, she was 44.
Okay.
And so she was kind of like in that the middle years a little bit there, coming up to. Okay. And so Cindy began a relationship with a man called McBride. It lasted approximately a year. He separated from his wife, moved into Cindy's house, and she told friends that he offered to stay for 2 weeks to help her to kind of like surveil and make sure that she was safe and everything like that. Several days after he moved in, he found Makepeace. Makepeace is the husband, remember, sitting in his parked car in an alley outside. And he claimed he was trying to catch the intruder as well in the act. And so McBride said, don't worry, mate, bugger off. I've got this. I'm living here now. Okay. And so then McBride also says he received a mysterious phone call. So remember, this is the boyfriend, while Cindy was present, and that the caller spoke no words. And so this is all still in 1982. She found a note pinned to her car windshield, which pictured a corpse under a medical sheet. And the boyfriend observed that the phone lines had been cut in 5 different places. And so all these weird things, right? Cindy remained cordial and friendly with her husband despite their breakup.
Oh.
Yeah. And at times invited him to her home with McBride present. So I guess that, there doesn't seem to be any animosity from her part, at least.
Right.
And it said, as both men shared a common fascination with finding her alleged harasser. And they would often discuss the case together. Well, imagine that around the kitchen table. Right? Okay. And so with it, the week of Christmas 1982, Cindy found a note outside her house reading Merry Christmas with a photo of a woman with her throat slashed, stained in red ink. So all this crazy, crazy stuff, okay? And so this continues on. The next section is 1983 to 84. It says, in 1983, so barely into the year, her friend came over to her house and found her lying unconscious in her backyard with a nylon stocking wrapped around her neck.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Upon regaining consciousness, Cindy told her friend she'd been attacked from behind by an assailant while walking to her garage.
What year was this, Rebecca?
1983. So the harassment started in 1982 and it's just continuing into the next year. And that the individual brought her into the garage where another male waited and the two strangled her. She alleged, some other attack happened that we won't say because it's not very nice.
Well, you can say it, just kind of
she said the men inserted a knife into her.
Oh.
And threatened to kill her younger sister Melanie if she reported the attack.
Did he insert a knife in her womanly parts?
That's what it says. But it said here, doctors who examined Cindy after the alleged attack found no concrete evidence of a sexual assault.
Could she have been pregnant? No. The reason I was asking is maybe somebody was trying to...
terminate something.
Yeah. No.
And so there's no evidences of a sexual assault. So I think at this stage, this is where you can see that a little bit of doubt is going to start to creep in with the authorities. Because a lot of her, it's unfounded, a lot of her claims, right? At police request, Cindy was asked to see a psychiatrist, but declined, as she feared that would stigmatize her. Okay, and so she said that she would go and see her doctor instead. And so in February 1983, she relocated to a different house. And less than a week later, she received another threatening letter, "Run, rabbit, run. Bang, bang, you're dead." All kinds of crazy things, more obscene phone calls. She relocated again to another house in April. Now, meantime, her husband was making continued attempt to reconcile with his wife and showered her with lavish gifts. And in the summer of 1983, paid for her airfare to Indonesia so she could visit her brother, Roger, who was stationed there. So that was probably a nice little reprieve from everything for her to get away. And then it says, several weeks after returning from the trip, she found another note which read, "Welcome back, death, blood, hate, etc." Like all weird stuff, right? Okay, Cindy painted her car in a different color in an attempt to conceal her identity. What a bizarre way to conceal your identity. Anyway, I think she was probably pretty much at that stage hoping to do anything she could. She hired a private investigator. So his name is Ozzy Caban. So he's going to feature a little bit now to help investigate. She continued to pay for Caban's service over the following 6 years. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
He noted that Cindy went to extensive...
She didn't know who was doing it.
No, but I wonder if they put cameras. I mean, at some stage you put cameras up. I mean, think about it in the 80s. What was available from terms of surveillance, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what he does, right? Caban noticed Cindy went to extensive lengths to protect herself, such as wearing a portable panic button, keeping oil and pepper spray with her at all times. Between October and November 1983, Cindy discovered the remains of 3 strangled cats in her garden, each bound with rope.
Oh my gosh.
Like, do you know what? she's not making this up, surely to goodness, right? In her private diary, she accused her husband of destroying the garden in her backyard, and she continued to receive numerous phone calls at home and at work, some of which were answered by her co-workers, who told the authorities the caller did not speak.
Oh my gosh.
So 1984 now. So this is really dragging along. So Caban, remember, the private investigator, heard strange noises on a two-way radio he had given Sydney, prompting him to visit her home. Upon arrival, he found her lying unconscious on her living room floor with a paring knife stabbed through her hand and a note pinned through with the knife. The note, which was crafted with cut and pasted letters from a magazine, said, "Now you must die." C word.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Okay, Cindy was taken to the hospital, and in an interview with Caban stated the last thing she remembered before being found was witnessing a man coming through the gate to her property before he assaulted her, bludgeoned her over the head with a blunt object. She stated once incapacitated, she recalled her attacker inserting a hypodermic needle in her arm. Doctors located a needle mark in her right hand but found no traces of any drugs in her system. She took a polygraph test, which, you see, even making her do a polygraph, right? It's showing that people aren't believing what she's saying. And so it said, which purportedly showed no deception. However, the officer who conducted the test later stated the results, by his estimation, were inconclusive. Okay, so the constable, the police officer, reported to his residence on the night of the attack, stated that he observed blood smears in circular patterns on the kitchen floor, as though someone had attempted to clean evidence. Okay, February 1984. Detectives began to increasingly question her husband, as Cindy had confided that she felt he was the one tormenting her. And so she might have probably come around to the idea that, you know, they're estranged and people do crazy things.
And he was a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah. And
maybe he was experimenting with some strange meds or something, and
right?
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting that she married a psychiatrist. If she does have mental illness or she does have some kind of weird psychopathy going on, that he, like, in all of these stories and in all of this background and everything, there's no mention of her mental health status before any of this happened, right? It's all kind of like, oh, that mad old Cindy again getting crank calls, you know? And so, and who knows in their marriage if what kind of contention there was between property, or because after that length of time there must be some marital assets, right? We don't know how contentious it was throughout that separation. And so in interviews, the husband, or I don't know if it's the ex-husband yet, he theorized that her attackers were part of the mafia and connected to her employment at this hospital, which often treated children who were wards of the court. And so it says in March 1984, Cindy's father Otto met with Makepeace, the husband, at a donut shop in Vancouver wearing a wiretap. So now they're really trying to get some evidence. And he told the husband to cease contact with his daughter. After the meeting, the husband wrote and sent a 6-page letter to her dad outlining the theory that he believed the mafia was after Cindy, and urged her dad to pressure police to investigate this angle. Maybe it's a ruse. Maybe he's trying to give them a little bit of a diversion there.
Maybe.
Okay.
Where's her family in all this?
Who knows, right? Oh my gosh, we've got a lot of harassment to go through. I might have to skip some.
Okay, and I'd love to hear your opinions on these things that we're talking to, because this is some pretty deep stuff that we're talking about right now.
Well, you would think after the part where there's a knife through her hand with a note, like, why doesn't she go into some kind of protective custody, right? Why is no one trying to protect her at that stage? That's what I think. And that's why I think that the authorities aren't buying it. But who could do that? Who could do all this to themselves, right? I don't know. But on the other side of it, she's not exactly giving a lot of information about the things that are happening to her, right? Like, I can kind of see, like, if someone comes into your house and strangles you and stabs you through the hand with a knife, and then you go, oh, I don't know who that was.
Yeah, and I hate to even say this because I guess I'm doing what they're doing, but as I'm hearing you talk about this, I'm like, are these things self-inflicted?
Right, exactly.
And I hate to even think that way, but I mean...
But I think we only think that because that's how she's been treated, right?
Exactly, and that's probably the perception that we have.
Yeah.
And I would hate to even think that. It's just, I've never heard of like so many things happening to one person without them getting caught. Like,
I know, right? Exactly. And so at the end of all this, we're going to have to decide what we think.
Yeah.
And so basically it keeps on going. Summer of 84, it said Cindy's reported incidents of harassment reached a crescendo of intensity. And she phoned her private investigator in a panic, and he rushed to her home to find her cowering in the garden, claiming someone had infiltrated the house. Her dog was cowering in the basement with a note reading "Happy Birthday," along with sexually explicit photographs. So there is kind of a sexual element to all of this as well, which makes you wonder, could it be the ex-husband? Like, there's some kind of weird power. I mean, this is all about power, right? And scaring her and controlling. Who would want to do that to her?